I want to dive into this a little bit. Can you give me, because you talked about like when you said, hey, Maxwell said leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. You said you got to do better than that. Count me as a Maxwell lover.
Yeah.
I have a lot of his books, and I've quoted that. I have a slide in some of my presentations where I say, hey, today when we're going to be talking about leadership, we're going to be talking about two things. We're going to be talking about how you create influence, and then how you prioritize things. I often talk about leadership is about priorities and it's about influence.
Yeah.
And so I'm really interested. We got a lot of people that probably are like, wow, I've heard that influence thing. I want to help them know how to do better. So can you give me some examples? Because you're right, Hitler did have a lot of influence, and Mother Teresa did have a lot of influence, and both of them got people to willingly. That's what I always say. Influence is getting people to willingly follow and willingly change. You can say if it was for good or for evil, or for good or for bad, and that's a different conversation altogether. But still, they fill the definition of influence. You're right. I haven't thought about it that way. Can you talk about like how does a company define successfully what it means to be a leader? Because we got sales leaders here, but they also fit inside of teams of other leaders. Part of there's three areas of leadership that salespeople have to worry about. They have to lead up. They got to lead up the people that they lead. They got to partner up. Okay. They got to work with those colleagues that they have and be leaders to them as well. They also got to manage up. They got to manage up. That's a whole nother part of being a leader, is managing up. I see you smiling, and so people that will get the video, they'll see this. I can see you're ready to go. So can you help our leaders that are listening? Like, what does it mean to come up? Like, it's a really great idea. How do you do it?
Yeah. So let's talk. Maybe the best way to get started here is just let me give you my definition of a leader. And I'm not confident that this is the greatest definition, but it's my favorite definition I've ever come up with. Okay, so a leader, I see a leader as having really three ways that they influence, so to speak. Okay, first, a leader is someone who sees a clear, preferred, and desired future. Okay, that's the first thing that
they see a clear, preferred, and desired future. Okay.
Yep. Okay. So let me tell you what I mean by clear, preferred, and desired real quickly. Clear, if the vision isn't clear to the leader, it's going to be totally unclear to everybody else, right? So it's got to be crystal clear in the mind of a leader where they're going, right? What is the future that we're trying to create? But that future has to be preferred. It has to be better than the current reality. It has to have people who hear about that future and they go, I want to be a part of that, right? Think about Martin Luther King Jr. It's such a clear future, such a preferred future. People began to say, I want to be a part of that world that he sees, right? But then it also has to be desired. And when I say desired, I mean, people have to want it so badly that they're willing to sacrifice the present for that future. They're willing to give up the status quo for the future, right? We've all heard people who come up with a great idea and we listen to it and we go, oh, wouldn't that be nice if we did that one day, right? Wouldn't it be nice if one day we all had personal computers? But it was only Bill Gates, right? And only Steve Jobs who were like, wait a second, we are going to get people who desire it so badly that they're willing to give up the comfort today for that future.
So the reason I love this, and maybe you know this and maybe you don't, the number one competitor to a salesperson or a sales team or a sales leader is not a competitor. The number one competitor is no decision, is status quo. So salespeople have to get good at helping buyers overcome complacency and choose the future over status quo. And that's what you're saying. Leaders need to do that with people.
Yeah. So so that's the first way that leaders have to lead, or the first part of my definition of leaders is they've got to see a clear, preferred, and desired future. Second, they've got to gather other people around that preferred future. Okay. If you have this beautiful vision, but nobody else gets on board with it, you're not going to lead anybody, right? So you've got to gather other people, and you've got to gather them not around your personality or how awesome you are, but it's gathering people around the future that you want to create. And then that leads to the third part. you mobilize others to create that future together. Like you see the vision, you get people bought into the vision, but you're actually getting people to move to create that. You are mobilizing them to create the future together.
It reminds me of a quote that you probably have heard of. I'm going to butcher it. And so to our listeners, I'll get DMs telling me who it is. Tell me who said it. I want it. Tell me I get it right, because I'm going to get it wrong. It doesn't matter if you're on the right track. Okay. If you're on the right track, but not moving, you're still going to get run over. Okay. Even if you're on the right track, if you're not moving, you will get run over. Something like that.
Yeah.
And that's what you're saying.
Good.
You got to mobilize people. They got to be willing to move.
Yep. They got to be willing to move and move to create that future together. Right. And this is where, the reason that for me personally, that I love this definition of leadership is it's about vision, but it's also about alignment, and it's about execution. You're creating a future together. You're not just influencing people to like you. And I love John Maxwell stuff. Don't get me wrong. I love John Maxwell stuff. But I think for most companies, we need more than, hey, who are the influential people? And we need to really get down to who sees a clear future, who's able to get other people into that future, and who's able to mobilize people to create that future together.